The Leafs signed Simon Benoit, so a one-year contract for a depth defenseman at $775K. Not much more than that. Played 78 games for the Ducks last year. He was a minus 29. I don't read much into that. The Ducks were dreadful. He had 60 penalty minutes. At the very least, he adds some depth and a bit of size on the back end.
Yeah, I mean he's a warm body. He's not. He's a
Wow.
low
Okay.
defenseman with some upside. Defensemen tend to develop late and hit their stride a little bit later than forwards do. It's a difficult position to get your bearings, and I think he's 24 years old, so he's still young enough. He's got upside, no doubt, but it looks like our top 7 are kind of locked in. He's going to be that depth piece. If we get some injuries and stuff, instead of calling up, a Marley with zero experience, which can also be beneficial, but you'll have a guy there with some experience who can play in the NHL. Like you said, numbers aren't ideal, but he was playing on a dog shit team, so you can't hold him over the coals for that. He's a body that's going to be there and ready to play if need be. So not groundbreaking news by any means, but they got a little bit of depth in there and covered their ass somewhat.
I think you nailed it, because I think you look at any NHL team, especially in the volatility known as the NHL these days, you're going to need more than 6-7 defensemen. Guys get hurt. You don't know what's going to happen. So at the very least, like the way I view it, it's a guy who has NHL experience. And while there's a lot of players who play in this league, it's tough to breed that, especially at his age, especially the way he plays. And I think you need that aspect. Like, we talked a lot about Luke Shen and the void that he left. It was a small sample size, but that type of player, I think, is really lacking from this back end right now. And I hope Benoit's a guy who they can filter in now and again. We'll see what they do with that back end. You talked about the 7 guys prior to him and stuff like that, but I think they need that element of size and like grit. And I'm not sure Benoit's like fully that guy, but they need that type of player.
Yeah, and if I was his agent, if I was his friend, or if I was his dad or his wife, I would say, hey, why don't you stand out from the crowd, go into training camp with a little FU in your attitude, a little chip on your shoulder, go and hit everything that moves, give a guy an extra little shot after the whistle, clear the front of the crease, play like a bit of an asshole. If you need to drop the gloves in and wrestle a guy down to the ground. That's what, exhibition season's all about, is making some noise, opening some eyes. You know what this team's lacking. Like you just said, they lost that Luke Shen presence, and he's really made a name for himself to the point where he was, wanted on the free agency market. He's gone. You can fill that void easy. You want a job? Do you want to be on the Marlies, or do you want to be on the Leafs? Go in there, play with a chip on your shoulder, use your size, bang and crash, be physical, be a presence, and you'll have a very difficult decision that you'll put on the laps of the brass of the Toronto Maple Leafs, because they know they need that right now.